Hey, so I wanted to give an update to some changes I've made on my trading app here. I know it's ugly as sin, but it's functional. So I've found that in my day trading and swing trading, the real issue that I have is that I keep um, taking trades that I shouldn't be taking. That's essentially it. I feel like I'm a good trader. I know how to trade specific setups really well. But what ends up happening is I'll do really well on those setups, and then I'll lose it all by taking other trades that aren't as meaningful or don't fit into my system. So what are these other trades that I'm taking? Well, I like to call them uh, taking shots. So it's less of like I have a target I'm looking to get or a goal in mind, and more of, oh, I bet you this is going to work. And the real problem is that sometimes those I bet you this is going to work trades do work, and so it sort of gives you this false positive of, oh, I'm being rewarded for doing something that means I must do more of this. But the reality is that most of those trades are not all good, and at least I'm seeing in my results that if I take too many of those trades, none of them, no single trade like that will kill me. But you get enough losses like that, and it just eats away at the profit I made from the trades that I'm really good at. And so I've been sort of racking my brain for how I can move away from this problem and get beyond it. And so I've made some changes to my trading app that basically prevent me from trading unless one of the setups that I feel like I'm good at presents itself. And so I want to talk through what I did there and how it's working or not working, because right now I feel like it's not working. But this is the goal, is like I want to basically limit myself from taking a trade unless it fits the criteria that I'm looking for. And I am finding that it has stopped me from taking certain trades, which I think ultimately is a good thing. But it's not there yet. It doesn't do everything I want it to do yet, and so I'll talk through what that is. So I'm going to actually make this screen a little bit bigger. By the way, just so you know, this is trading view over here on the left, and this is my trading app here on the right. They're both connected to my broker. So anything I do here is also visible on here. So if I initiate a trade here, it shows up over here in trading view, and I can actually manage the trade visually on the screen here as well. So moving stops around, that sort of stuff. And then over here, I manage entries and exits, basically, other than stops. Stops are just hit, and they, of course, manage themselves. So here right now, you can see I've got PLTR, which is I'm looking at PLTR on the left, and I've got PLTR up on the right. And you can see in my ticker symbol, I've got it filtered to just the one ticker that I'm currently on. And there's a few things that you can see here. One is this little dude with the sunglasses, and another is this letter B. And so the dude with the sunglasses is basically the setup. It's the icon for the setup that I'm taking on this trade, and the B is the grade that the symbol has been given in terms of that will help me understand how I should size the trade. And up here, I changed my trade size inputs to be representative of the grade. So an A setup would get 50% of my risk on the day. A B setup would get 25% of my risk. A C setup gets 10%, and a D setup gets 5. And really, D setups, I actually don't have any D setups. What I really use this for is if I'm scaling in, like say I want to take 2 shots at a C trade, I'll hit the D size, and I'll give myself 2 entries for that C size. I hope that makes sense. So before I take a trade, actually maybe I'll just show you. I'll go to something like that. What did I not trade today? Let's go to Apple. Okay, so when we go to Apple, what you see now is, because I haven't traded Apple today, you see I've got a question mark here, and I've also got this, I don't have my buttons to click for making an entry, right? So the very first thing I have to do is, if I'm looking at Apple over here and say I want to make a trade, and this looks like a choppy mess, so I would not want to trade this, but let's just say I did. Before I could do this, I would have to figure out what trade do I want to make. And looking at the chart, I'd have to come up with some theory I have about what I think is going to happen. So I would click plan the trade. And then here I have these are setups that I do, setups that I'm good at, with the exception of oops, which is sometimes I make a mistake. I'll click a button accidentally and get into an error. So I need a way to grade that. But these are basically setups that I can take. And so a daily high or low, or a monthly high or low, and even a weekly high or low should be in here. Those are A setups for me. Climax is an A setup. So this is like a blow off top or a flush out bottom sort of a thing. But typically I think if it's a flush out bottom, I'm probably looking for a daily high or low, or monthly high or low, or weekly high or low. But a climax top is like things are super extended. I'm expecting a major reversal from a blow off top. That's what a climax is. And then those are my A trades. And that doesn't mean that I get an A size. That means that if this sets up, those are typically the trades that I do the best in terms of profit. And so I gave them an A. And then B is in the B section, I have hourly high or low, trend rider, and access or runner. Now, these are all trades that I have sort of mixed results with, and I have a little bit of a harder time getting into. And, you can look at Apple as an example. Like, there was probably hourly higher lows within this trend as we were stair stepping up on the daily, right? And so catching that hourly higher low can be tricky, and it's a really difficult thing to do, in my opinion. And so I'm learning and getting better at that. But these all sort of fall into that category, and I'm trying to figure out through this exercise if when I grade them this way, do I lose on too many of those and I should just wait for these? Do you know what I mean? And then finally, I have an earnings drift, which is a really simple setup, but there are no stops involved. And so I'm still trying to master it, but it's one that I do on earnings. And I need to see a specific thing happen on earnings, and it only works on earnings after hours. It won't work on earnings pre-market. And so I can't get a ton of practice on this because it really requires the stocks doing that thing and me being aware of them before the earnings comes. And so I'm trying to get better at this, both planning ahead for the earnings that are coming that I think this play could happen on, and then playing it when they arrive. But I don't have any great. I've seen it happen enough times that I want to be able to do this one and I want to practice it, but I have a hard time doing it because the iteration rate is kind of slow. But so once I select one of these, let's say on Apple, we're clearly riding a trend here. And let's say I was going to go for a daily higher low. Like maybe I think the stair step's going to break tomorrow, whatever. And so I want to say Apple, I want to do a daily higher low because I think we're going to break the stair step and come in tomorrow. It's somewhere down here. Maybe I think that's going to happen. So I hit daily higher low. And then it exposes all this other stuff. And the first thing is a tool. So I'm going to make this a little wider just so we can talk about it. So the tool is basically the pattern on the chart that I see setting up that I would want to play if I saw a daily higher low occurring, right? So I expect a daily higher low is going to happen. I'm looking for a pattern on the chart that I can play that lets me get that daily higher low. And you can see that when I select a daily higher low, it automatically chose stair step. And so a stair step is basically a one-timing framing pattern. And there's a ladder in the icon here for the stair step trade, but it can be a stair step up or it can be a stair step down. I'm not, directional bias. It's just if I'm looking for a daily higher low, I'm expecting a stair step down. And that would be my ideal setup. So I chose for each of these trades that I'm interested in, I chose what's my favorite, the one that I do the best on, what's the best tool for that trade, and it's stair step. Now, for this one, and so the idea being that when the day comes and I'm looking to make a daily higher low play, it might not be a stair step, but I'm like making myself aware when I first click this, oh yeah, the stair step is my favorite. And it's also an A setup for me. Okay, so, but what if it's not that? What if it's a falling wedge? Or what if it's coming in to test a key level as a level burner, or maybe it's a back through open trade, whatever. I can choose whatever it is. Maybe there's an MA rider, it's riding an MA down, and I want to play for the MA rider break, right? So not exactly a stair step. Maybe it's a stair step on the 15 minutes chart that is a 2-minute MA rider or something like that, So it could be a combination of these things, but I choose the one that I feel like is going to be what I'm going to play. And then I have default plans put in for each of these tools that sort of outline what I should be doing. and I can go in and I can customize this if there's specific things I want to mention about that setup, or some specific way I want to trade it, or some nuance to what I've selected here. I can put that here into the plan, and then I can close this out. And now when I'm looking at Apple, I have this summary here. So it's a B grade trade. So it took the A grade of the setup and the B grade of the tool and combined them to come up with the result of a B graded trade. And so I have a whole array or a grid of like what happens if I combine an A setup with a C tool, or a C setup with a B tool, or whatever. And then I basically map that out, and I decide based on the combination of those things, what is the result going to be for the grading. And basically you can imagine, like if I choose a subpar setup and a subpar tool, I'm going to get, a D grading. And if I get an A setup and an A tool, it's going to be an A grading. And, you can imagine what the rest of the grid looks like. But the whole idea there is that now I not only have a setup that I'm looking for defined, and a way that I want to play it defined, but an amount of money that I need to trade on it defined. And now I'm basically ready to place this trade. So say I'm doing an MA rider break, and I need a 0.5% stop, and it's a B graded trade. I click this, I get the number of shares, and now my buttons have all appeared, and I can basically make this trade by clicking one of those buttons whenever the time comes. And so I've made a bunch of other changes to the app, but this is the one that I'm the most focused on, because I feel like with this tool, I should be able to limit the trades that I take. And I have definitely found over the last few days, like I've had this written for about a week and I've been trading with it. There have been times when I wanted to take a trade and they would be taking shots trades. And I'm like, wait, it doesn't really fit. I don't see a good way to fit this in. It's not a daily higher low I'm looking for. It is an hourly higher low, but I don't really know what this pattern isn't presenting in one of these tools that I like. It's making me second guess trades that I would have taken before. So if it does nothing else, then it does that. And that's I think a positive thing. And it should help me as I move forward and try to limit the number of trades I take. But you can also see that I've got a lot of tools on here, and I've got a lot of setups. And so the other thing that's crossing my mind is, how can I limit these? How can I reduce the number of options I have here so that I'm restricted even further in the trades that I'm going to take? And so I think that as I go through this and record all of these trades in my trading view, or in my trade review app after the fact, I'm recording what was the plan, like what was the setup and what was the tool, and then what was the result. And then my hope is that with that data, I can just look back and easily see, man, you really suck at stair steps, or you really suck at falling wedges, or whatever, or like trend rider is not the one for you. Maybe you just remove that because you suck at it. Like whatever it is, find the problems that are showing up through the way that I'm trading, and try to filter those out, so that when I do take trades, I'm just doing the ones that I'm actually good at. And I know that it's not that simple. Like not every trade is the same, not every setup is the same, not every chart is the same, and it's all probabilities and stuff. Like I could do this a million times and have it end up with completely different random outcome than whatever. So I'm just trying to find any way I can to limit the bad trades that I take. And so this is my effort to do that. And I feel like this clarity, though, of like just what's the setup and what's the tool I'm trading, that's a big, big deal for me. I think that I wasn't thinking that way before, and now I've realized that I should be. And everything that I look at in terms of a setup that I'm going for, I should have a very clear, like, here's the thesis for the trade up here, and here's the execution of the trade here with the tool. And I should never take a trade unless I have a good combination of those two things. So anyway, I thought I'd share these updates to the app, and maybe in a few weeks I'll come back and post what the outcome has been, if any, and like how the tracking has been going. All right, happy trading.